Have you ever wondered why the person who broke your heart seems to sleep peacefully, while you are the one losing your mind? Why they move forward while you replay every word, every smile, and every memory like a prisoner locked inside your own thoughts? Most people believe a broken heart is caused by losing someone. They are wrong. A broken heart is caused by losing control over yourself. The day you understand this truth is the day your pain begins to lose its power. Machiavelli would never tell you to stop feeling. He would tell you to stop giving your enemy free control over your emotions. Because whether they meant to hurt you or not no longer matters. What matters is that they still live inside your head without paying rent. That is the greatest defeat. Today you will discover the #1 cure for a broken heart. It is not revenge. It is not finding someone new. It is not waiting for an apology that may never come. The real cure is far more powerful, and once you understand it, you will never love weakness more than your own peace again. A broken heart feels like the end of the world because your mind creates a dangerous illusion. It convinces you that the person you lost was your only chance to be happy. This is the oldest trick your emotions will ever play on you. Your heart does not see reality. It sees fear. It whispers that without them you are incomplete. It tells you that life before them was empty and life after them will be worse. But if this were true, then how did you survive before you met them? You laughed before they arrived. You dreamed before they entered your life. You lived before they knew your name. The truth is painful but freeing. They did not create your happiness. They simply became the place where you stored it. The mistake was never loving them. The mistake was handing them the key to your inner world. Machiavelli understood something about human nature that many people still refuse to accept. People respect what is difficult to control. The moment you allow another person to control your emotions completely, your value begins to disappear in their eyes and in your own. This does not happen because people are evil. It happens because power changes every relationship. The one who depends the most usually suffers the most. This is why heartbreak feels so unbearable. It is not only love that has been lost. It is power. Your days become controlled by memories. Your sleep depends on their silence. Your mood changes because of their social media posts. Your confidence rises or falls based on whether they reply to a message. Think about that for a moment. They may not even know they still control your emotions. Yet you have handed them authority over your peace. The first lesson is simple but difficult. Stop confusing attachment with love. Love allows freedom. Attachment creates chains. Love says, I appreciate your presence. Attachment says, I cannot survive without you. These are not the same thing. One creates strength. The other creates dependence. Most broken hearts are not mourning love. They are mourning dependence. They miss the routine. They miss the attention. They miss the future they imagined together. They miss the version of themselves that only existed inside that relationship. But missing something does not prove you need it. Hunger does not mean every meal is healthy. Loneliness does not mean every relationship deserves another chance. Look carefully at your pain. It changes every hour. Sometimes you miss them deeply. Other times you feel angry. Then suddenly you remember a beautiful memory and convince yourself everything could still work. A few minutes later you remember how they ignored your feelings and your anger returns. Why does your mind keep changing? Because emotions are unstable advisors. They speak loudly, but they rarely speak wisely. If you make permanent decisions based on temporary emotions, you will continue building your life on unstable ground. Most people respond to heartbreak by chasing answers. They ask why. Why did they leave? Why did they change? Why was I not enough? Why did they stop loving me? They believe that one perfect answer will remove all their pain. But life rarely gives perfect answers. Even if the other person explained everything, would it truly satisfy you? Probably not. Because your heart is not searching for truth. It is searching for hope. It secretly wants an excuse to believe the story is not over. That hope becomes a trap. Every unanswered message becomes a hidden sign. Every random coincidence becomes proof they still care. You stop living in reality and begin living inside possibilities. Machiavelli would tell you something that sounds cold, but can save your life. Judge people by their actions, never by your wishes. If someone wants to stay, they stay. If someone values you, they show it. If someone repeatedly chooses distance, believe the choice instead of creating stories, to avoid accepting it. Reality may hurt once. Illusion hurts every single day. There is another mistake people make after heartbreak. They begin negotiating with their own dignity. They tell themselves that one more message cannot hurt. One more call will provide closure. One more apology will fix everything. But every desperate action sends the same message. It tells both you and the other person that your self-respect has become cheaper than your fear of being alone. Confidence cannot grow where desperation rules. Imagine a king who begs strangers to respect his crown. Would anyone truly admire him? Of course not. His begging would destroy the very authority he wants others to recognize. Your self-worth works the same way. Every time you chase someone who keeps walking away, you silently announce that your value depends on their approval. That belief becomes more dangerous than the heartbreak itself. This is why silence often becomes your greatest weapon. Not because silence manipulates others, but because it forces you to hear your own thoughts without distraction. At first, silence feels unbearable. Your mind races. You want to reach out. You imagine conversations that never happen. But slowly something changes. The emotional storm begins to weaken. You start noticing how much energy you were spending thinking about someone who was no longer building a future with you. The chains begin to loosen. Many people fear letting go because they think letting go means admitting defeat. In reality, it is the opposite. Refusing to let go is surrendering your future to your past. Letting go is reclaiming authority over your own life. You stop asking whether they miss you. You begin asking whether you are becoming the person you admire. That single question changes everything. Notice how successful people recover from loss. They do not erase memories overnight. They simply refuse to build their identity around pain. They continue learning. They continue improving. They continue moving even while carrying emotional weight. They understand that action heals faster than endless thinking. Every day spent creating a stronger future quietly weakens the grip of yesterday. The greatest danger after heartbreak is not sadness. It is stagnation. A broken heart can become an excuse to stop growing. You delay your dreams because you are waiting to feel better first. You avoid opportunities because your confidence has disappeared. Days become weeks. Weeks become months. Eventually, the heartbreak becomes part of your identity. You stop saying, "I experienced pain," instead you begin saying, "I am broken." Those two statements are completely different. One describes an event. The other becomes a prison. Never allow temporary suffering to become your permanent identity. Pain is something you pass through. It is not somewhere you are meant to live. Every scar teaches a lesson, but only if you stop touching the wound long enough for it to heal. Here is a truth most people never hear. Sometimes the person who leaves you gives you the greatest gift of your life without intending to. They expose the places where you abandoned yourself. They reveal how much of your confidence depended on someone else's presence. They force you to build strength that comfort never required. One day you may look back and realize the relationship did not destroy you. It revealed the parts of you that still needed to become stronger. That is why the strongest people are not those who never experience heartbreak. They are the ones who refuse to let heartbreak define their destiny. They turn loss into discipline. They turn loneliness into self-mastery. They turn rejection into independence. They stop asking life for fairness and start preparing themselves for reality. And reality rewards those who master themselves before trying to master the world. The moment you stop asking why they left, a different question appears. Who are you becoming because they left? This question carries far more power because it shifts your attention from the past to the future. A weak mind keeps looking for reasons. A disciplined mind starts building results. The difference between these two paths determines whether heartbreak becomes your prison or your training ground. Every painful experience carries hidden value, but only those who are willing to grow will ever discover it. Everyone else simply repeats the same mistake with a different person. Machiavelli believed that fortune favors those who prepare themselves before opportunity arrives. The same principle applies to love. Most people think the next relationship will heal the wounds of the last one. They rush into another connection hoping someone new will erase someone old. This almost never works. You cannot build a strong house on a cracked foundation. The pain you refuse to face today will quietly follow you tomorrow. It will appear as jealousy, insecurity, fear, or the constant need for reassurance. The face beside you may change, but the battle inside you remains the same. One of the hardest truths to accept is that no one is responsible for making you feel complete. Healthy relationships add joy to your life, but they should never become the source of your identity. Imagine carrying a cup of water every day. If someone accidentally knocks it, you lose everything because that cup held all you had. Now imagine standing beside a river. If one cup spills, the river remains. Become the river. Build a life so full of purpose, discipline, knowledge, and confidence that losing one person cannot empty your entire world. Many people mistake constant thinking for healing. They believe that if they replay every conversation enough times, they will eventually understand everything. But thinking without action is simply another form of suffering. Your brain becomes trapped inside a loop that never ends. Every memory creates another question. Every question creates another memory. Days disappear while nothing changes. Healing begins the moment you interrupt this cycle with action. Action does not mean pretending the pain is gone. It means refusing to let pain make every decision for you. Wake up when you plan to wake up. Finish the work you promised yourself. Exercise even when your mind tells you to stay in bed. Read when your emotions tell you to scroll through old messages. Every small act of discipline sends a powerful message to your brain. It says, I am still in control. That message becomes stronger each day, until your confidence slowly returns. The human mind follows what you repeat. If you repeat memories, you strengthen memories. If you repeat growth, you strengthen growth. This is why your daily habits matter more than your daily emotions. Feelings change like the weather. Habits shape your future. Never let temporary sadness decide permanent routines. There is another trap waiting after heartbreak. It is called comparison. You begin watching their life from a distance. You wonder if they look happier without you. You compare your lonely evenings to the smiling pictures they post online. But remember this simple truth. Social media is a stage, not a confession. People show victories and hide struggles. You are comparing your private pain to someone else's public performance. That comparison will always be unfair. Even if they truly are happy, what does that change? Does their happiness remove your ability to grow? Does their new relationship prevent you from becoming wiser? Does their success erase your future? Of course not. Yet many people willingly hand over their peace because they cannot stop watching someone else's life. Every minute spent measuring yourself against another person is a minute stolen from your own progress. Machiavelli would advise you to protect your attention the way a king protects his kingdom. Attention is power. Whatever receives your attention receives your energy. If you constantly feed old memories, those memories become stronger than your future. But if you feed your goals, your discipline, your knowledge, and your health, those things begin to replace the space once occupied by pain. People often believe that closure comes from another conversation. They imagine hearing the perfect explanation that finally allows them to move on. In reality, closure is rarely given. It is created. It is the decision to stop demanding answers from someone who no longer plays a role in your future. Waiting for another person to free you is another form of emotional dependence. Freedom begins when you give yourself permission to continue without their approval. Think about the strongest people you admire. They all experienced loss. Some lost relationships. Some lost opportunities. Some lost people they loved deeply. Yet they continued, not because they felt no pain, but because they refused to worship it. They treated suffering as a teacher instead of a permanent companion. This is what separates resilient people from defeated people. One asks, why did this happen to me? The other asks, what is this trying to teach me? Your heartbreak has already taught you something, even if you cannot see it yet. Maybe it revealed that you ignored red flags because you feared being alone. Maybe it showed you that you sacrificed your standards just to keep someone happy. Maybe it exposed how quickly you abandoned your own dreams whenever another person entered your life. These lessons are expensive, but they become valuable only if you remember them. Never repeat a painful lesson simply because it feels familiar. Many people return to unhealthy relationships because uncertainty feels scarier than familiar pain. They choose predictable suffering over unknown freedom. But every return to the same mistake makes leaving even harder the next time. Courage is often nothing more than choosing temporary discomfort instead of permanent regret. Another dangerous habit is waiting until you feel motivated. Motivation is unreliable. Some mornings it appears, other mornings it disappears completely. If your future depends on motivation, your future will always remain uncertain. Discipline is different. Discipline acts whether emotions cooperate or not. The person who continues moving without motivation eventually reaches places that motivated people only dream about. This is why your broken heart can become your greatest advantage if you use it correctly. Pain creates energy. Most people waste that energy on sadness, anger, or revenge. A wise person redirects it toward growth. Learn a valuable skill. Improve your body. Build your career. Strengthen your mind. Every improvement becomes proof that suffering did not defeat you. It transformed you. Do not seek revenge by trying to make someone regret losing you. That goal still gives them control over your actions. True power appears when you stop caring whether they regret anything at all. Your success should never be a performance designed for someone else's eyes. Build your future because you respect yourself, not because you want applause from the past. Many people secretly hope their ex will return one day. There is nothing wrong with hope itself, but there is danger in building your life around it. Hope becomes harmful when it prevents progress. Live as though they will never return. If they never come back, you will already have built a better life. If they do return, you will meet them as a stronger person, instead of the desperate version they left behind. Remember that loneliness is not always your enemy. Sometimes loneliness is the quiet room where your strongest self is created. Without constant distraction, you finally meet your own thoughts. At first, that meeting feels uncomfortable because you discover fears you have ignored for years. Stay there. Listen carefully. Every fear points toward a weakness that can become strength through practice. Your value has never depended on one person's opinion. If someone failed to recognize your worth, that does not reduce your worth. A diamond remains valuable, even if someone mistakes it for an ordinary stone. Never lower your standards simply because another person failed to appreciate what you offered. Self-respect is built by refusing to negotiate your principles for temporary affection. As your mind becomes stronger, something surprising happens. The memories that once controlled you begin losing their power. Songs no longer break your heart. Places no longer destroy your peace. Dates no longer carry the same emotional weight. Not because you erased the past, but because you built a future large enough to hold it without being crushed by it. This is the quiet victory that few people notice. Healing is rarely dramatic. It does not arrive with fireworks or a single magical morning. It arrives through hundreds of ordinary choices. One disciplined day, then another, until one afternoon you realize you have not thought about them for hours. Later you realize it has been days, then weeks. The chains that once seemed unbreakable simply fall away because you stopped feeding them. The cure for a broken heart is never found in chasing what left. It is found in becoming someone who no longer abandons themselves. That transformation does not happen overnight, but every step forward weakens the grip of yesterday and strengthens the person you are becoming. Now you stand at a crossroads that every broken heart eventually reaches. One road leads back to the past. The other leads toward a future you cannot yet see. The first road feels familiar. It asks you to remember every beautiful moment while ignoring every painful truth. It encourages you to believe that if you had only said different words or made different choices, everything would still be perfect. The second road is more difficult because it demands something your emotions resist. It demands acceptance, not because acceptance feels good, but because acceptance gives you back the one thing heartbreak tried to steal from you: your freedom. Machiavelli understood that no ruler could build a powerful kingdom while fighting yesterday's battles. Every hour spent mourning what could not be changed was an hour that enemies used to grow stronger. Your life follows the same law. While you remain trapped inside old memories, your future waits without you. Opportunities pass. Skills remain undeveloped. Friendships fade. Dreams become smaller. Not because fate was cruel, but because your attention never left the past long enough to recognize the future standing beside you. This is why emotional discipline is more valuable than emotional comfort. Comfort tells you to avoid pain. Discipline teaches you to walk through it. Comfort asks you to stay inside familiar sadness, because at least it is predictable. Discipline reminds you that growth has never lived inside comfort. Every stronger version of yourself is waiting on the other side of temporary discomfort. Think about a blacksmith shaping a sword. The metal is heated until it glows. Then it is struck again and again. Each strike looks violent, yet every strike removes weakness. If the metal could speak, it might believe it was being destroyed. In reality, it is being transformed into something far stronger than before. Your heartbreak feels like those heavy blows. Every difficult day tests your patience. Every lonely night challenges your courage. But if you refuse to surrender, those same struggles begin removing the fear, dependence, and insecurity that once controlled you. Many people spend years searching for someone who will never leave them. They believe perfect love means permanent certainty. But life has never promised certainty. People change. Circumstances change. Feelings change. The only stability you can truly build is within yourself. When your peace depends on your own character instead of another person's choices, you become difficult to break. This does not mean you stop loving. It means you love differently. You stop loving from fear. You stop loving from desperation. You stop loving because you need someone to rescue you from loneliness. Instead, you love because your life is already complete enough to share. There is enormous power in this difference. A person who needs love often accepts disrespect. A person who chooses love never has to. One day you will meet someone who appreciates your loyalty, your honesty, and your effort. But if you have not learned these lessons, you may still lose yourself trying to keep them. The purpose of heartbreak is not to make you afraid of love. Its purpose is to teach you how to love without sacrificing yourself. Never confuse selflessness with self-destruction. Healthy love requires kindness, but it also requires boundaries. Boundaries are often misunderstood. People imagine they are walls built to keep everyone out. In reality, boundaries are doors. They allow respectful people to enter, while keeping manipulation outside. The moment someone repeatedly disrespects your peace, your values, or your dignity, your boundary reminds you that walking away is not weakness. It is wisdom. Remember how desperately you wanted answers in the beginning. You believed one conversation could heal everything. Now ask yourself another question. If they returned today exactly as they were, without changing anything that hurt you, would you truly be happy? Or would you simply repeat the same cycle with a different ending? Growth changes your perspective. The things you once begged to keep may become the very things you thank life for removing. This is why time alone does not heal every wound. Time only gives you the opportunity to heal. What truly heals you is what you do with that time. Some people spend years feeding old pain. Others spend those same years building wisdom. The calendar treats both people equally, yet their lives become completely different because their choices were different. Your habits are quietly writing your future every single day. Every morning you choose whether to feed your strength or your weakness. Every evening you decide whether your mind belongs to old memories or new goals. These decisions appear small, but they shape your character over months and years. Character is not built in dramatic moments. It is built in ordinary ones that nobody applauds. There will still be difficult days. Certain songs may remind you of the past. Certain places may awaken forgotten emotions. Do not fear those moments. They are no longer signs of failure. They are reminders of how far you have come. Feeling a memory does not mean you are moving backward. remaining trapped inside that memory does. Forgive yourself for every mistake you made. Forgive yourself for trusting too deeply if your intentions were honest. Forgive yourself for believing promises that were never kept. You acted with the knowledge you had at the time. Wisdom always arrives after experience. Do not punish the older version of yourself for not knowing what only pain could teach. There is another kind of forgiveness that is even harder. It is forgiving the person who hurt you. This does not mean inviting them back into your life. It does not mean pretending nothing happened. Forgiveness simply means refusing to carry the weight of resentment forever. Hatred creates invisible chains. Every day you remain consumed by anger, you continue giving your past authority over your present. Freedom begins when you no longer need revenge to feel whole. Machiavelli would remind you that the strongest rulers never wasted endless energy chasing every insult. They focused on building power instead. Your greatest response to betrayal is not louder words. It is a stronger life, not because you want others to admire you, but because you refuse to let suffering become your identity. Imagine meeting the person who broke your heart 5 years from now. They expect to find the same wounded individual they left behind. Instead, they see someone calm, disciplined, confident, and peaceful, someone who smiles without bitterness, someone who no longer seeks validation, someone who built a meaningful life regardless of who stayed or left. At that moment, the greatest victory has already happened. It is not that they noticed your growth. It is that your happiness no longer depends on whether they noticed at all. The number one cure for a broken heart has never been another relationship. It has never been revenge. It has never been endless distractions. The real cure is rebuilding the relationship you abandoned with yourself. Every promise you keep to yourself restores trust. Every difficult task you complete strengthens confidence. Every boundary you protect reminds you that your peace has value. Slowly, almost silently, the person you were before the heartbreak disappears. In their place stands someone wiser, calmer, and far more difficult to manipulate. Never fear losing people who cannot recognize your worth. Fear losing yourself while trying to convince them. The world is full of temporary relationships, unexpected endings, and changing seasons. But your character can remain steady through all of them if you choose to strengthen it every day. From this moment forward, stop asking, "Why did they leave me?" Ask, "What kind of person will I become?" Because they left. That single question transforms suffering into purpose. It turns pain into discipline. It turns loneliness into independence. It turns rejection into wisdom. Walk away from your past without hatred. Walk toward your future without fear. Let your silence become confidence instead of sadness. Let your discipline become louder than your emotions. Let your self-respect become stronger than your desire for approval. One day you will realize that the heartbreak you once called the worst chapter of your life was actually the beginning of your greatest transformation. The strongest people are not those who never had their hearts broken. They are the ones who refuse to let a broken heart break their spirit. They understood the lesson that most people spend a lifetime avoiding. When you master yourself, no loss can truly destroy you. When your peace comes from within, no departure can leave you empty. And when your value is built on your own character, instead of another person's opinion, you become something that neither rejection nor heartbreak can ever defeat again. If this video gave you a new way to think, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs these words today. Leave a comment below with the lesson that stayed with you the most. Remember, true power begins with mastering yourself. See you in the next video.